In the mid-2000s, I spent a couple of years as a licensed subway busker on the TTC. It was a remarkable opportunity to watch the world go by from an unusual vantage point and to practice the giving of an offering without expectation of recognition or reward. I wrote extensively about that experience in a daily blog because it brought up so many questions for me about beauty, value, recognition, and indeed privilege. I tried as much as possible to see my busking as a form of service, but often it was I who received gifts from others, gifts I've come to understand as forms of ministry. One day, a man came up to me in the subway and stopped a few feet away, digging in his knapsack. Instead of pulling out his wallet or a handful of coins, he pulled out several sheets of white paper and a pair of scissors. "I have something for you," he said excitedly. I stopped playing to watch him fold the paper several times and cut them into a deliberate shape. "These are holes in hearts," he told me. "I give them to people." And sure enough, that's exactly what they were. After he had accomplished the basic heart shape, he cut a second heart away on the inside, creating little heart-shaped paper donuts a few inches in diameter. Pulling away the extra paper, he gave a large stack of them to me. "Thank you so much," I said. But I wasn't sure exactly what I was thanking him for, and I didn't know what to do next. Well, I needn't have worried, because he carried right on. "This one is special," he said, folding up a larger sheet of paper and starting to cut again, this time creating a snowflake design made of larger hearts and larger holes. "Thank you," I said. "You're doing a wonderful thing." I felt sure it was true. I just wasn't sure why. Was it simply the uniqueness of his gift that was moving, or was it the symbolism? After all, these weren't simply hearts with random punctures in them, although those might have been meaningful as well. No, these were whole hearts with parallel empty hearts in the middle. To me, they represented a yin-yang, positive and negative space within one heart and within every heart, all parallel to each other and cut from the same cloth. Was this what he meant? I didn't dare ask him. I was afraid, I suppose, that he might talk to me too much about his hearts, that I might find myself connecting too long or too deeply during this chance encounter with a highly unusual stranger in a public place. Was this the hole in my otherwise heartfelt thank you? Finally, he handed me the large, special heart snowflake, smiled gaily, and trotted off to catch a train. I put the cutouts in my knapsack, and somehow over the next few days, the little holes in hearts got loose around our house. For days afterward, we found them everywhere, scattered on the floor and on the cabinets. Dave and the kids asked, "What are these? Where did they come from?" We've all heard of random acts of kindness. I wonder if we might also consider deliberate acts of ministry, specific ways of caring for others, arising from our own talents, abilities, contexts, and opportunities. I'm certain that everyone here engages in ministry of various kinds. The stranger on the subway offered little portable sermons, offering the message that every human heart contains emptiness and longing, yet is beautiful and whole at the same time. Someone else might provide the blessing of a nourishing and delicious meal prepared with love. Another person might host a community group that becomes like a congregation, supporting its members through life's passages of birth, marriage, divorce, illness, and death. Of course, these forms of ministry can all be applied within the formal context of the Congregational Church. They certainly are here at First Unitarian, where the full spectrum of talents are useful, everything from computer skills to supportive listening, to renovating a building, to arranging flowers. All of these ministries and so many more contribute to the well-being of this whole. As the Christian minister Frederick Buechner famously wrote, the place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. As a person who has occupied a variety of pulpits, both paid and unpaid, recognized and unrecognized over the course of my lifetime, I might also say that the place God calls you to is likely more than one place. At least it is in the material sense, when we are talking about practical contexts and professional roles. In that sense, we can be called to many places of ministry throughout our lives, many settings and responsibilities, many people to serve and attend to in particular ways and at particular times. But the additional place that I think Buechner was also talking about, and the place that might take an entire lifetime to find, is the place of deep knowing at the intersection of our material lives and our spiritual lives. That is, the place where we are deeply engaged with both our specific individuality, with all the practical necessities it entails, while at the same time being engaged with the something more of being, life, God, or true self. The dimension of life that transcends the personal and that calls us to love unconditionally and without reservation. As you've likely noticed in your own lives, it is not easy to find or stay present in that place. Very often, we find ourselves tilting toward matters of status, material wealth, power, ego gratification, need for security, only to find that we have lost touch with the deeper source of our true ministry, and we must return to that foundational ground. We can do this through deep listening, mindful attention, through spiritual practice, prayer, and conversation with trusted listeners. This contemplative approach can help guide us when we are seeking meaning and purpose. At the same time, it is also possible to veer too far in the opposite direction. In our deep longing for peace, beauty, harmony, and love, there may be times when we turn away from the practical and urgent needs of this world, when we avoid conflict and discomfort, and therefore miss the opportunities for active ministry that the world so urgently needs from us. In the lifelong process of spiritual growth, we must recognize the need for both action and contemplation, so that we may continually expand our capacity to minister to the world as it is, as fully and completely as we can, and to do so from an ever-abundant wellspring of peace, gratitude, and love. It seems to me that deep connection with peace and love that transcends our own individual lives, that connection with the source is needed as we as a society come to grips with all the ways that we have not held each other. As human beings, we have a responsibility to create systems and structures that can hold all people, especially the most vulnerable. To recognize, for example, the human right of safe and affordable housing, and for a basic livable income, these systemic aspects of life that are needed for wellness, but that which are currently not available to countless people living on the streets and in the parks and ravines of this wealthy city. A city where right now security guards are being deployed to prevent people from sleeping in parks. This is, of course, only one social issue of dozens and dozens and dozens, which command our attention and which call us to ministry, whether it be witnessing, advocacy, funding, education, voting, and opening our hearts in compassion through meditation and prayer. The word minister comes from the Latin meaning to serve or attend. There are so many ways to serve and to attend, to minister to life in its wholeness and its multiplicity. Throughout the process of living and growth, we will all find there are holes in our hearts, areas of longing for dreams unfulfilled, spaces we wish we could serve in, but find the shape of our lives does not allow it, awareness of personal limitations and shortcomings, areas where we lack understanding and have room for growth. And of course, in every life, there will be griefs and losses of so many kinds, losses that open up and that remain. All of these gaps, however, are held in the embrace of a larger love. Of this, I am sure. This love can take the shape of a group of people, a congregation, a family, a group of friends. It can take the shape of the interdependent web of all existence, which reveals our belonging within it as surely as our bodies mirror the shapes of the universe itself. And for some, it can take the form of a loving God that is beyond shape and form and name, but that comes to us in mystery and speaks to us through love. As you know, the form my ministry here is taking at the congregation is changing. In the coming year, I'll be focusing my time fully on spiritual care with a little bit of preaching thrown in. I will be continuing to be available to you for direct support in times of need or when you are seeking to deepen in your own spiritual life. I will be strengthening our lay spiritual care teams and also doing some group leadership. By significantly reducing my professional ministry here, I'll be creating space for other forms of ministry, including music. As the shape of First Unitarian continues to change, I am always interested to see how new voices emerge as new people arrive and the roles of existing members continue to evolve. The great Canadian songwriter Jane Siberry once wrote, "I'm bound by the fire. I am bound by the beauty. I am bound by desire. I am bound by the duty." We are all bound together in the mystery of life and the ministry we share. May it always be so. Blessings and amen.